Dr. Ali Mohseni Motlaq, he did his postdoctorate in molecular biology in University of Wyoming, postdoctorate again in microbial genetics in also University of Wyoming, PhD in microbiology 1990, University of Wyoming, and also he had an MS in food science and human nutrition, University of Wyoming, and BS in biology 1978 from Iraq Advanced College of Science in Iran. Professionally, Dr. Mohseni has worked as a lecturer in the Department of Molecular Biology at University of Wyoming in the States, and also as a researcher in Department of Molecular Biology. He's also Executive Vice President and Chief Food Safety Officer for a large American company called American Foods Group, LLC. Dr. Mohseni, please share your presentation with us and start. Thank you, sir.
Is my presentation on the screen now?
Yes, yes, we can see it.
Okay.
It says German Coast Guard, it says.
All right. That's it. Okay. Thank you so much, folks. I know that there has been lots of information shared this morning that hope you all enjoyed it. Due to a diverse expertise, to make sure that all of the lingo, technical buzzwords that I'm using, we could basically be useful to you all. I suggest to take a look at this short clip, and it takes only a minute.
I hope you have shared the sound as well on this video, because otherwise we won't hear it.
Sorry, that's the wrong one.
Can you make it larger, please?
I will in a moment as soon as it comes up.
Okay, if you enlarge it and you haven't shared your sound actually, Dr. Mohseni. If you go back to your, if you stop this and go back to share a screen, at the bottom of the share a screen, there is a little box, you can tick it and it says share sound.
Everybody hear that now?
No, we don't hear it. You need to share your sound as well. You need to share sound. You are only sharing the screen, well, I think we could read the subtitles actually. So you can talk over it if you like. Talk over it. Anyway.
It is.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So what we are going to talk about today is a modern agriculture for Iran. Modern agriculture, when we are talking about modern agriculture, it really is in terms of, has been defined as arts and sciences of production, processing, marketing, and distribution of crops and livestock products. Agriculture in Iran Iran as in general is a predominantly an agricultural country, with almost 70% of the people live in urban areas, and 29, almost 30% of the population living in a rural area. And this is according to Food Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. The main occupation of the working population in agriculture is related, and those percentages of the people who directly and indirectly are working in agricultural sector are composing the population of Iran about 50 to 60%. Agriculture in Iran is in old-fashioned, therefore inefficient. Vast majority of farms are small. Small as a definition of the United Nations is less than 25 acres, which is equal to 10 hectares. That are not economically, this kind of size farming are not economically viable, which are contributing to the wild scale migration to the cities. Iran has very minimal fodder production, and all of the fodder needed back in Iran is being imported. Iran also is facing other challenges, the agricultural production, like the growing problem of water scarcity, soil salinity. Seeds are of very low quality, and farming techniques are really antiquated. But within Iran's agriculture landscape, we will see there are some capabilities and potentials, and that is the western part and northwestern portion of the country the soil are very fertile and is very suitable for cultivation. A third of Iranian total surface area of 1,069,497 square kilometer, a third of that, almost 500,000 square kilometer, is suitable for farming. But only 12% of that almost 500,000 square kilometers are under cultivation. 65% of arable surface area is devoted to dry farming. At the end of 20th century, ag income accounts for a fifth of GDP of the country. Of course, now export of the product is about 5.4 billion to 6.2 billion, while import is $9 to $12 billion. So we have a huge deficit there. The source of livelihood is Iran is, as I said, predominantly that is the 70 and the 30% that divides people between rural and urban environments, living in urban or rural areas. In the advanced countries, this ratio is very small, for example, being 5% in UK, 4% in USA, 16% in Australia, 14% in France, and 21% in Japan. In Iran, the main occupation of the working population is agricultural related. About 33% of the workforce directly, and up to 50 to 55% of the population is directly and indirectly involved in the agriculture. It is really almost impossible to talk about agriculture and not to link it to the ecosystem, as the agricultural part of entire ecosystem or biotopography of Iran is really a portion of it that is constantly under the intrusion of people. Of course, so is in some other countries, but at least the other countries, they do have mitigation strategies that they could mitigate this. Unfortunately, for the last 20, 43 years, we know that the entire country has been under relentless destructive intrusion by Islamic Republic of Iran, unruly use of inorganic fertilizer, pesticides, herbicides, growth promoters, antibiotics, and other chemical interventions has really caused severe damages to the ecosystem and agriculture in Iran, with devastating contributing to the elevated chronic and debilitating diseases, including cancer, cardiovascular, liver, kidney disease, and such. The destructive action of the regime extended beyond the biotic component of the ecosystem. In every ecosystem, we have two different, really, a segment or portion of the entire ecosystem. One part of it is the biotic, where you get all of the producer, consumer, and decomposer are living and working in harmony. And the other part, which is abiotic part of the ecosystem, it deals with the soil and rain and other non-living environmental factors. So that's what we were talking about here in the biotic, affecting the biotic. That's really what it means. That is targeting that living part of all of the ecosystem into the through the agriculture. So therefore, as some of the destructive strategies and objectives that Islamic Republic of Iran follows is redirecting the rivers and the streams, building dams to redistribute the surface water to the mining industry and ore processing industry based on their political and ideological agendas and objectives. This has resulted in some of the very native species and strains of the wildlife that they are at the verge of extinction. This is what I was talking about, ecosystem, biotic, and abiotic relationship. These are all working when we break as like a chain. If we break one of this chain, the entire ecosystem is gonna suffer. Therefore, introducing all of those chemicals as a part of agriculture in very irregular, unsupervised, unrestricted manner is gonna basically impact a very destructive force at the entire ecosystem. What we are proposing is a modern but not intense. Modern and intense agriculture model is what United States of America is using. In this type of agricultural model, everything is modern, using of modern technologies, modern machineries, modern farming, but due to intense nature of it, the use of tremendous amount of course, regulated, that's the only difference with Iran. Iran, but in terms of they still, as it's compared to the other advanced countries in the world, US using the most pesticide, herbicide, and growth promoters and other interventions. So what we are proposing is a modern that is not intense. It is science-based. It is very robust, but it's environmentally friendly, and it's sustainable, and is very quick to respond to the emergency that happens to the agricultural people's longevity. And that agricultural agency that we are proposing is going to be very quick to respond to that to prevent further damages to people's farm and livestock. What is the timeline of this project? Of course, as everybody can imagine, right now, we are not inside the Iran to do our survey and get our hands on very technical, analytical data based on science. So therefore, in some cases, we have collected all of the information that as much as we could through the United Nations, even though, as you all may know, even those data is being coming from the government of Iran, and therefore it cannot be trusted fully. But nevertheless, based on those, we have basically designed a modern agricultural agency that could answer, especially as it relates to the forecast for the future of food globally by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. The world has until 2050 to increase the food production by 70%. And that is a huge number. Almost most of the people, other countries, agriculture is fully to its full capacity. So therefore, that's probably the only place, niche, if you will, that we could make some improvement into the Iranian agriculture to increase the productivity of it. So the only, as I said, the only option really to increase that is just use the modernizing our agriculture. When can we start? Immediately after that the regime is toppled. We definitely, whatever we have to salvage, whatever is left of the National Agricultural Agency, take them and rebuild a new, modern and robust science-based agriculture. There are, of course, in every agriculture agency, to be science-based, be efficient, and be able to lead the entire agricultural landscape of any country, any nation, it has to have a division, if you will, or as we can call it, a bureau of animal plant health inspection service that inspect every single animal domestically and all import animals into the country, ante-mortem, make diagnosis, detect if there are contaminated, infected with any zoonotic diseases, and try to quarantine them. after the live animal and also plant that is being imported, or diseases basically in the realm of plant pathology, the pests that are imported either from outside the borders, or the pests that they get a proliferation advantage over some. That is the job of animal plant health inspection system, to detect that and prevent them from damaging the basis of the agriculture. The other more important and very vital department within the agency is Food Safety Inspection Service, that their basically biggest order of jobs are to inspection, this time ante-mortem and post-mortem inspections, diagnosis while animal is alive, and do basically diagnosis after the animal is extinguished, to determine or detect any possible potential disease causing that could harm the consumer of the product from those animals. Rural development is another very important department. Without having agricultural workers that are basically capable enough to have a comfortable life, gain enough to be able to purchase whatever that is their living necessities, we are not going to have a very productive agriculture. Therefore, development of the rural area where vast majority of agricultural workers are living is of prime importance. Risk Management Agency basically deals with all of the risk that is, whether it's atmospheric and society-induced risk. This is the agency that is going to help the farms and the ranchers, the farmers, and the rural area to be able to cope with that. Then, of course, there are National Institute of Food and Agriculture, Economic Research Service, Foreign Agricultural Service. It's very important. Most of the pests are being imported in, intentionally or unintentionally, as is the case with any agriculture agency in any country, but no other country is as wide open as Iran is. There is absolutely an absence of a foreign agricultural service in Iran. At the top of that, there is a total absence of a network of biosecurity, food biosecurity system in Iran. And we, as it stands today, we are inviting all of the pests to come in and destroy all of our whatever is left out of our agriculture system. And one of the very recent and most important is agricultural biotechnology, or for short, they call them ag biotech. That this is really what we are counting for the future, to be able through biotechnology to help our domestic native plants and try to help them through the biotechnology to be able to cope with the insects and be able to resist drought. Especially, this is very important for an agriculture, the same agriculture almost that we have in Iran, with very little water for our farming and ranching business. So this slide, if everybody can see it, as you see, that's really, before changing the slide, I start talking about it. So this is, biotechnology is nothing really new. It has started 6,000 years ago. People very early on in the civilizations start recognizing that the use of beneficial bacteria or microorganism, they can extend their shelf life and preservation of the food items, especially dairy product. And also they learn that through artificially, they can increase the plants production, either through tissue grafting, that is very popular in Iran, grafting of the trees, and also cross-pollination, rather than counting on the insects to pollinate the trees for them, and also weeds that has dramatically increased the productivity and quality of the plants. But in the modern ag biotechnology is really a very useful tool that can specifically, with the application, to transform the entire agriculture and food production by increasing efficiency, productivity, through lowering the cost and affordable food for all the population. The, of course, transgenic crops expression, you all have heard about, with also the controversy that's going on, GMOs, but not all transgenic crops have that negative publicity. Really, as where the plants are concerned, and improving the plant's ability to survive under adverse circumstances, they actually are very helpful and provide food and save life that way. The role of the ag biotech in advancement of agriculture really started in 1990s, when in North Carolina, cotton farmers really had that serious crisis with the insect infested and rampant wheat growth that were wiping out all of their cotton fields, and which, as you know, really the cotton fields are one of the really cash crops for the Carolinas. But with the help of ag biotech, basically farmers were able to come up with the growing the cottons in the areas that they were really thinking or could think of be able to grow there, just because biotechnology could, by genetic manipulation, turn those cottons to much more resistant to the adverse effects of environment. And therefore, really that industry bounced back. But now you can see not only they use biotechnology, especially their work on soybean to produce protein. Perhaps you have been listening to the news and advertisements that are going on. Really, the entire world is trying to lower their reliance on animal, basically feed, like the domesticated animals for food, meat from them. They are right now more inclined to go more toward the plant proteins. And soybeans, with the help of biotechnology, is one of the items that can produce a lot of protein. And also, the more interesting is really, in this way, biotechnology has helped to produce 2 vaccines. One of the vaccines that are really using plant biotechnology to make the vaccine against malaria. And another one is the influenza H1N1 vaccine that it can be grown and then can be dried, like turn it to dry fruit, or a dry seed powder. And so it really increases the shelf life of the vaccine, and anytime it's needed can be dissolved into half a cup of water, and they can drink it, and that's the vaccine. Therefore, as you see, this is really one of the modules that was missing in Iranian agriculture. And we have done a lot of work with that. I myself have done some of this work as early as 1988. It is nothing that we are not capable of doing it. There are enough workforce already in Iran that can be used to basically start the agriculture to moving forward with increased efficiency. The last module I want to talk about is really the issue of biosecurity. If you this can come from any direction. As I said, it really needs a diligent and expert network of people who can control the importation of the biosecurity agents, that these agents are really harmful and they cause diseases. Animal biosecurity is all about protecting human health and the environment from problems associated with the pests and disease of animal, and also residues. Residues is whatever chemical that does not leave the muscle and other eating part of the domesticated animal for food. Therefore, during their lifetime, whatever inorganic chemical, toxins, heavy metals, and those type of compounds that can cause diseases in human is going to be accumulating in their muscles and liver, kidney, and therefore this residues has to be detected. If it is over the limit, they need to be deal with that. That product should not be marketed as for human consumption. The risk of the biosecurity, basically agents are the risk that is associated with pathogenic bacteria, viruses, and other microorganisms. Their entire purpose is to have a set of preventive measures that designed to reduce the risk of transmission of the infectious diseases in crops and livestock, quarantined pests, invasive alien species, and living modified organisms. So, prevents the presence, of course, of hazardous and destructive chemicals, as we talked about. That is really concludes my presentation. Thank you for listening, and I'll be ready to answer your question anytime the time comes for answering the question. Thank you.
Thank you.